3, 2, 1, and action.
Action. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Beav. This is my helper. This is Cameron, my daughter. This is part 3 of a multi-part series of restoring and rebuilding my 80 series and doing like an Overland build. In the past couple of videos, we haven't done anything Overland related. It's been more of the restoration side of things, of getting this thing cleaned up. I hadn't driven it in like 10 years. It's just been kind of sitting, so we did some cleaning up. We did some mechanical work, replaced the alternator, went through a few things, fixed the AC, that kind of stuff. Now that I know everything is mechanically sound, we can start having fun with it and playing with it and adding to it, and not having to like undo any of that stuff to fix anything that might need fixed. So I've put some miles on it. Everything seems great. I've got a pile of parts here from IronMan 4x4. In this video, I'm gonna focus on the front end. We're gonna do the front bumper, we're gonna do the winch, we're gonna do some front driving lights. Cameron's gonna help me. I also have the next couple of videos, just so you know, we're gonna be the suspension. I've got full IronMan 4x4 suspension with the foam cell shocks. I've got a roof rack, awnings, all that kind of stuff, all the good stuff. I've got, we're gonna install a dual battery setup in this with the S-Pod electrical switch system and all that kind of stuff. Those are the future videos, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And let's get into the video. Okay, now that we got this stuff all unpackaged, which, by the way, they take packaging very seriously, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. Cameron is starting to unbolt the old front bumper. I've got to disconnect this winch from the battery. And then we have some other planning to do. The other thing is, you might be wondering why I'm swapping out this bumper. I built this bumper years ago. Why I'm swapping this bumper out for this bumper. And the answer is time, to be completely honest. This bumper was never like really fully finished, and I had plans and intentions on adding to it. I would love to have added lights to it, more of a bull bar to it, a light bar, recovery points, all those things. I just don't have time for that these days. I also didn't know what the strength and capability of this bumper was. IronMan 4x4, their bumpers are crash tested and rated and all these different things. So I had a lot more confidence putting that on, saving myself the time. It was in stock. I had it in like a week. And with kids in the car, I wanted to make sure that I knew I had something safe and reliable, etc. All right, I'm gonna disconnect the winch, and then I have to plan some of the other electrical stuff going back in, the additional lights going in. I am doing a 2 battery setup on this, as I briefly mentioned before. I've got an S-Pod for the light switching and all that stuff, so I'm not going to use the wiring harnesses they supplied for the lights and all that kind of stuff. So, got some stuff to take apart. This is anti-seize. Okay, so while we sit here and prep some of this hardware to reinstall, we got to start with installing the winch plate, adding the winch to the plate, and then the bumper is going to go back on over that. But we're going to go ahead and prep all this hardware. I'm going to go bolt, lock washer, regular washer, anti-seize, so this one's ready to go in. Some of the other planning that we have to do is where all the wiring is going to go, because I'm going to use an S-Pod, which is like an electronic switcher. Everything's going to wire up to that, so I need to know where the S-Pod is going to go. I've got to find a good place in the engine bay to put that. Here, go ahead and put anti-seize on that one, just paint bubbles. Yep. And then this bolt or washer. So I've got to know where the S-Pod electronic switcher is going to go under the hood, so that I know which direction to route all of the light wiring, etc. So we're going to finish prepping all this hardware and start putting it together.
Yep.
So what I was just doing there was reclocking the winch so that the engagement, disengagement thingy, I'm sure there's an actual name for that, but I don't know what it is. So what I'm gonna do is throw it in the winch mount here and then just mock up and slide the bumper on and see if it's in the right position, if I have to move it again, or whatever. Ready?
Ready.
Good, because this thing's heavy. Right down on there. Yep. Show them what we were trying to do. Will you just kind of hold it, make sure it's not going to fall? All right, let me show you what I was talking about. You have to clock the little engagement knob there to make sure that you can reach through here and access it to engage and disengage the winch, because it's hidden behind the bumper and the cable will come out through a fair lead right there. It's looking good.
Yep, I'm excited.
I still owe you guys some other explanations on why I chose this style bumper, like this bull bar style bumper, over like the low profile sleek bumper that I had. Aside from like the safety stuff that I was concerned about, the advantages that this provides in the environments that I drive in. We'll go over that in a minute. Let me tighten all this stuff down. I also have to figure out placement of lights and where the switch box is going to go. We'll talk about that in a second. So what's cool about this bumper, oh my gosh, while I lay here and relax for a minute, it doesn't actually have recovery points built into the bumper itself. Other way, Cam. Yep. So it uses the factory hooks. I don't know if you can see this, what you see here, which is the way I had it set up previously, because I didn't have recovery points in my bumper. But I feel like this is a good, solid pulling point. You're pulling directly on the frame. You're not going to pull the sheet metal apart or a recovery point out of sheet metal. I think that's the biggest concern with a lot of these, is the way that the recovery points are welded into a bumper. Are they going all the way through, welded on the front and the back, etc.? But it's a weak point for a lot of vehicles and something that a lot of people have a lot of concerns about. So this, using a factory OEM recovery points, makes me feel good. All right, that's all tightened up. I think now we need to test fit the bumper again, figure out where the winch controller thing needs to be mounted, run the wiring through it to the winch itself. I'd rather mount that thing somewhere else. I don't really want it on the top or in the front of the bumper. All right, so I'm trying to figure out where to put the controller. There's a lot of stuff that has to go on the bumper still. So this is it's a remote mount winch controller. Oftentimes on other winches, this controller is mounted to the winch, but because this one's hidden behind, you have to do sort of a remote mount controller relay setup. So what they're suggesting in their instructions is mounting it to the bumper, which would be great, except for I've got their big combo lights, which need to go somewhere on here as well. So these are starting to interfere with each other. I don't particularly want this controller mounted to the bumper, so I've got to get creative. I got to see if there's a way to mount this elsewhere. I don't know what that's going to be yet. There's a lot of figuring out and planning to do. And who knows what that's going to bring. So anyways, on to more problem solving. All right, well, Cameron's cutting some zip ties off of some stuff for me for some wiring. I'm going to grab the S-Pod set up so we can start to figure out where in the world we're going to fit this under the hood. I'm not going to go in super in-depth telling you all about the S-Pod right now. We'll save that for the electrical wiring lighting video coming up soon, but essentially everything wires into this. This acts like your relay. You can add additional fuses to it, but it has circuit breakers built in internally, and all the wiring kind of runs through the backside into stuff inside of here. And then you have these remote mount controllers that run off of data cables. So you just run like a Cat 5, Cat 6 cable from the controller inside the cab, mount it wherever you want. And then it's got this particular one is the touchscreen version, and you can program it to do all the different things. It also has automatic shut off if the battery gets below a certain voltage, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of cool safety features. Again, we'll get in depth. And you can actually run up to 2 touch screens off of it. So I'm gonna mount one in the cab that I can access from the driver's seat, and I'm gonna mount one all the way in the back of the vehicle as well, so that if we're camping or whatever, I can control exterior lights or whatever from in back. Now, I've got to figure out where I'm going to mount the controller so I know where to start routing wiring to the driver's side, the passenger side. I also know that I'm going to be putting a battery here, so I've got the SLE off-road second battery kit. Again, that'll be a whole nother video, but that's going to put this washer tank back there, so I can't mount it there. Be another battery here that's going to mirror this battery. I'm wondering if I could put it right back here. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. And once I have a plan, I'll let you know. So this is where the builds and this kind of stuff starts to get frustrating, right? We start to combine a lot of the aftermarket accessories together to all work together. And it just shows how important it is to be planning several steps ahead. And a lot of this you just have to kind of go with the flow and figure out as you go as well. So, and my thought just a second ago was that I would mount the S-Pod back there, right? That it's the easiest location for this thing to mount that doesn't interfere with a bunch of stuff. However, I want this S-Pod to be operating off of the secondary battery, not off the main battery. So to wire it from there all the way around to here, while it's not impossible, it's also not ideal. So I'd rather mount the S-Pod somewhere on this side of the engine compartment so it's directly wired to this, and I can run all the accessories up this way, etc. But then I start to run into the issues of another battery here, this relocating back there. Am I gonna have room to put this back there anywhere? I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do is operate under the assumption that everything's going to at least be on, all these accessories will be on the passenger side of the vehicle, and I'll just figure it out. Okay, it's really coming along. We've got a lot of it mocked up. I'm really, really impressed with the IronMan 4x4 bumper. One of the concerns that I've had, and I'm not typically a fan of these bull bar style bumpers, but there's a lot of reasons that why I wanted this bumper. Again, one of them was time and not being able to continue to modify the bumper that I built, but also I really wanted this front end protection, and including the sides as well. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But where we live in the low country in South Carolina, we have a lot of deer on the road. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. So this is really your get home area, right? Like I wanted to be able to protect the radiator and the front of the motor, belts, things like that, just behind all there. So I wanted this front protection. I want to be able to mount the lights here. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to. These lights I just have sitting here right now, and I don't know if they're going to be able to stay, because this is actually how you would access the winch lever. So I don't know how this is going to work. I may have to flip the mounts upside down and weld tabs to the bottom of this and mount them from up there potentially. But I wanted to keep all the light down low. I've got an old LED light bar at the top of the roof rack, and as many of you guys probably know, when you have a light up high like that, it's lighting up the space in front of the windshield. And if you have dust, rain, snow, anything like that, it's just lighting that up in front of your face, and it makes it very hard to see. It's really cutting down on your visibility rather than improving it. So by keeping the lights down low, you're just lighting up the space in front of you, and it's not screwing up with your visibility in front of the windshield. So with the IronMan lights, these combination lights, you're able to use these bottom lights independently. So I can use this like a light bar at the bottom, and then use these other lights independently up at the top, or you can use them all together. And they have different beam patterns, so you've got more narrow light from the one set of lights and a broader light from the bar. If you use them together, you get the mixture of both, so it's super beneficial. The other thing that I liked was the profile of this bumper. The bull bars really sweep back and keep it nice and tight to the truck. I've seen some bumpers out in the past that are like come way out, and that it's real boxy and square. Not a fan of that. Not the sleek design that I would prefer, but this is awesome. I'm a huge fan of this. You can see it really hugs the truck tight, and I'm super happy with it. There's also this antenna mount right here. Now again, because I just sort of have this mocked up right here, I didn't want this to hit the hood, so I've just got a rag sitting here. But like a CB antenna or ham radio or anything like that, you could put a big antenna up there. Now, as I mentioned before, we're in the low country of South Carolina, so that means we have a lot of trees, a lot of brush, a lot of that kind of stuff. So I wanted to be able to mount the cables from the corner of these front bull bars up to the roof rack. And if you're not familiar with that or not aware of it, you can put a cable here, and it's going to push those branches and trees and limbs away from the vehicle so they're not smacking your windshield. That's a big deal here in South Carolina, and for the types of trails that I will be on. So that was a big deal and very important to me, and one of the modifications that I was going to make to this bumper, but would have been very difficult because of the original profile that I had. It was just too tight to the front of the vehicle to be able to add those bars. So IronMan 4x4 to the rescue. Very impressed with this bumper. Now, if you guys are interested in any of this stuff that I mentioned in today's video, I will leave links in the description below. And that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Cameron, for all of your help. You killed it. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it.
And subscribe to the channel if you liked it, and give us... Oh, sorry.
Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.